Welcome to the Best Damn Coach podcast. You guys, we've been waiting to record today's interview for weeks, months. I don't know how long it's been, but I am joined by the Coach Dar today, and we're going to dive into, I don't know, we'll see where it takes us. There's some specific things, but I think before we were recording, we both got real hot and heavy about the integrity of the coaching world. So we definitely have to go there, but I'm just delighted to have you today. So thanks for creating a space to be with us.
Oh, Amanda, thanks so much for having me on. I'm sorry
Yeah.
it's taken so long, but I'm so grateful that we got here.
Hey, good things come to those who wait, so it's no problem for me. I'd love to give a little backstory to how I stumbled upon our guests because they are specific and intentional and handpicked. And today, well, let's go back. Is I heard Coach Dar speak at an event from one of our former guests, Lindsay Swartz. She was hosting a powerhouse event. I guess it's been a year and change now. And up walks this tiny little spunky thing to the stage, and you just kind of blew me away with your energy. And then I think at the end there was just like a super special moment. I think it was a song. I can't remember what song now. It's been a while, and I just watched everybody come together. I had like kind of goosebumps over my body. So I started following you and just connecting more with your journey and being, a powerhouse in the coaching space in different ways than I am. I wanted to invite you on to share your genius and your story. So I'm grateful that you said yes.
I'm grateful you were in the room that day so that we could be connected.
Yeah, so intentional. So I know you have amazing things to share. We're going to talk about your book. I would love, though, for you to give us just a backstory to how did you end up here doing what you do today?
I'm an occupational therapist by background. So I started out in traumatic brain injury, stroke, spinal cord. So my specialty with the type of therapist I am is in neuroscience and neuropsychology. And some could see and some can't, but like I have these brain models. Like my whole world started with the brain and helping human behavior and understanding the neuroscience of it all. So that's where I started helping, honestly, the most complicated cases, really, patients that I would be fortunate enough to have for almost a year to help them sometimes go from coma back to life or overcome. They wouldn't even know who their wife or daughter or kid. I mean, they lost all ability after a car accident. It was our job to take what seemed hopeless and create hope again and a path and a way. So yes, I'm a therapist. Yes, I was a coach and a motivator and a speaker, inspirational speaker, even way back then. You have to do everything to give them back the hope every day because a lot of people want to give up when it's that hard. And so, ironically, starting there in those toughest of situations, I shared at the event that you're at that I ended up going through a stroke myself early on. And that was a game changer because it left me with a blood clot in my brain. And I was told I could die any day. So I was like, wait a minute, what? I'm like, no, those are the patients I take care of. This isn't for me. I help them. And so it was this wake up call. Well, sugar, if I could die any day, then I want to go change the world. I want to go help people. I tried doing that in healthcare. I went back to school for business and then learned business and leadership and end up running companies. And then in 2008, when the world was hitting a recession, I felt very called at that moment to start my own private practice and consulting firm. And I didn't know it would be what it is today, but I have this expression for everyone to take: go ugly early, which means
Yes, love it.
you don't have all the tools and you don't know exactly how it's going to be laid out, but you have a vision that you know that you are meant to use your gift and serve in a certain way. So I literally just stepped out in faith, started speaking for free on what I know from psychology, science, leadership, mindset, and put together my own practice. And speaking on mindset, I have to tell you, Amanda, then I was like Elon Musk talking about a self-driving car. People are like, wait, what?
Oh,
Yeah. And my father's like, you're going to leave six-figure salary. You need health insurance, all that. You're leaving it to start your own practice. I was like, yes. And I'm so glad I did. It was not without struggle. It takes a lot. I mean, I can't do the math. It might be 15 plus, probably more years now in private practice. So what people see today, which is today I coach world leaders, professional athletes, CEOs, all peak performers. I speak around the world. They see all that, but this has been 27 years in the making and 15 to 17 in private practice. So for all the coaches out there that are emerging, it takes time, but any greats, my job is working with the greats to continue to be great. I promise you, the reason they're great is because they're consistent and they're in their genius zone and they're in their flow.
Amen.
So that is where we want to be, but it takes consistency. It doesn't happen overnight. So the conversation we're having a minute earlier, which was someone is literally 20 years old wanting to coach someone who is 65 in business, you don't even have enough life experience yet and you don't have the tools. So coach where you are with the tools you have to the niche that it fits for, not because this is flashy and you want to get in, but you
Yeah.
will build the skill. And then I will say, opportunities will come. So I used to be the Phoenix Suns mental skills coach. I coach in all the leagues now, the NFL, the MLB, NHL, all of them. I didn't go after saying I want to go into sports. This is important for everyone to listen to. I crafted my skill and hone it till to this day. I am learning, getting education, doing everything I can so I could stay at my peak. And then guess what happened? The people that need that meet that. I didn't have to force anything. It attracted it, right? So when you're working on being great doing what you need to do, things will come. Yes, you have to show up. I show up everywhere that I'm called to, but then the like-minded people will be attracted to your services. This is not about forcing it. This is not about flash. This is about how could you be great for service of others.
Yeah, so good. I mean, so many nuggets that you just shared really in that entry. I always say your niche finds you over time. And I think
Yeah,
there's misleading information, and a lot of coaches that are beginning feel like they have to establish themselves. I'm like, no, you just go out and freaking coach. You coach honestly in the beginning, whoever really you think you can help within an integrous way. And
yeah,
then you discover like, what was I really good at? What was like really crappy? And then what are the gaps? Where is the opportunity for education? Right? Instead of like, oh, this is trending. I'm going to go get this certification, or this is trending. It's like, let the craft and the development of your coaching abilities be the driver for where you continue to seek education. And I think that that's why, I mean, that's what we were saying before we went live, is we have to have more of these conversations because there isn't a barrier of entry into the industry. And I think that's cool in some ways because literally it's the American dream realized rather quickly. And the problem is what I see is that it's watering down the industry, but it's also people are losing trust in the industry
absolutely.
because there's many coaches that are way better marketers than they are coaches. And so for those of us that really care about coaching and our results heart centered, servant heart leaders, then we have to work like a lot more and be more creative and learn how to pivot our offers so that we can give time for literally people to try us before they buy us in some instances. And that's where we are. So we just need to know that and take a stand for it, no matter where you are in your
Absolutely.
journey. So one thing I heard from that statement that you shared too is really kind of, I heard the word trust and faith come out of that. And I'm thinking as you're talking, like divine like pathways unite, because here you are, have like this massive expertise, and then you become your own patient. Like, how did you wrap your head around that at that moment in time?
At the very time that it happened, I was 25. I don't think I grasped it. And I kind of just was like, I definitely didn't deal with it in the sense that I understood it all. I just pushed myself forward and was like, no, no, I've got to get ahead of this instead of dealing with it. And then it's a longer story, but I ended up having 3 strokes. And my last one was just a few years ago. And that's how I got to writing the book, The Art of Bouncing Back. But I say that because by the third one, I was so much more prepared, know exactly what to do, to the point that I did all my own rehab, bounced back faster than anyone could have ever imagined, including myself. And so wisdom in life allows you to know how to handle it, and putting the right people around you allow you to kind of bring up where if there's blind spots. So at 25, no, I definitely didn't handle it the right way. But what I did do was I'm going to take action on this and I'm going to move forward and I'm going to do something from it rather than sitting in the victim role. I
Mm-hmm.
said, what can I do to use this for good? And if I'm going to die any day, well, sugar, I'm not going to sit back and wait. I mean, what am I going to, I don't fear that it doesn't work out. So
Mm, for
it
sure.
did propel me.
So I'd love to jump into the book a bit because I know that not all of our listeners are going to relate to having a stroke, but I think we can all relate to the fact that we've been in a position where like, oh heck, how did we get here? We're at the bottom. Like, how did this happen to us? So I'd first love to know what at what point were you like, I think I'm going to write a book about this?
Well, to take a step back, my mom was a barber, and she had a place that she used to work at, in this place in Connecticut when I was little. And I used to go over to the bookstore in town when she was working and during the summer because we didn't have a babysitter. So I'd go with her to work. And so I'd go over to this bookstore, and I remember her later on saying, someday your book's going to be here and I'm going to be the first to buy it. And I was like, sure, mom. And yeah, it was such a, you don't think of it then, but then later on, I was like, sure, that seed was planted and it started to sprout. And I was starting to figure out how to write a book, and it was going to be called Awakening Greatness. It was the patterns of greatness, which will still be written, but that it took a redirection because while I was writing that book, I had my third stroke while I was trying to write that. And I was about to give up on the whole writing because I lost my ability to hold things in my hands. Reading, I couldn't read. My speech was messed up, and I was calling it. I was like, I'm done. And my sports agent called me and said, why are you putting God in the corner? I said, what? And it was
Mm,
like this wake up call that she had with me. And she's like, it's not your decision. And she's like, here's the thing. You've helped so many hundreds of thousands of people literally over your career bounce back from adversity, reach their greatest levels, including yourself bouncing back. So that was the start when I got working with someone and we started to write an outline. What is this formula that I help people? And as I started to think about what the formula was, the title came like, this is the art of bouncing back. And that's how it came to be.
I love that. I love that that seed was planted. I was just
Yeah.
listening to it was like an interview with a country star, and she was reading out loud on a radio interview a letter that she'd wrote to herself as a 14-year-old. And she literally said, By now you will be a recording artist in Nashville." And she was just
Oh
started
my
crying,
God.
So that matters, you guys. Like, just start, I don't care if you're
Yeah.
40 or 14, start planting those seeds and see that next level
Speak
vision.
life. Speak life into your life, into others' life, but we need to speak more life.
Yeah, for sure. So I had the pleasure of reading your book as soon as it first came out, and just a couple of things that I want to share as a reader is I love when I can read a book and I can like wear the hat for myself. And
Mm-hmm.
even though, like I said, I didn't relate necessarily to having a health moment, there were other times in my life where I can definitely relate. One of those for me was when, yeah, it was a struggle early on in our marriage, and so I was like, oh my gosh, like we went through multiple miscarriages. I was at the bottom, and
Mm-hmm.
like I could totally feel myself in the story. So shout out just to because I
Yeah.
think everybody can wear that
Mm-hmm.
experience. But
Mm-hmm.
second is it's just it feels, and maybe it's because I've heard you speak, but I also felt like you were in my ear, like your voice, it was personal, and not a lot of books do that for me. And so I really enjoyed the read, for those few reasons as well as the content.
Then goal accomplished, because that was writing it. It was like I just want people to pick it up and as if I'm coming along the journey with you. And I
Yeah,
did write it with multiple examples of people having to bounce back from various things. It could be a bad day, it could be a life event, it could be a health, it could be anything. The point is we're all having to deal with adversity in our life, no matter what that looks like in the landscape. Adversity is coming, and are you prepared, and do you have the mental resiliency to handle it?
for sure. We'll drop the link, of course, to grab Dar's book as well in the show notes. But I would love to know, actually, now hindsight looking back, you've written the book, millions of people are reading it, purchasing it. You've had the chance to probably go on a zillion interviews over time. But what's something about this process that's happened that has kind of like caught you off guard
Yeah.
or that you never saw coming?
I just had a conversation this morning about this because I've literally been in multiple cities almost every week since January, and I had to get through this weekend. Like, I think I'm actually going to be home in October for the first time the whole year. So I hope. But all to say, I said to them, as much as I say that, and the travel does get to you at times, the stories of the people's lives that this has affected, which is why I wrote it and why even my publisher gave me a chance because they said, we got to get your message out, because in case everything, I ever have a fourth stroke or something happens, I wanted this out there. And I literally put like my whole coach, I gave everything in the kitchen sink in it, saying that like this is for people to be able to utilize themselves. So when you have someone going through something, you don't have the right words, give them the book. When you're going through something and you don't know what to do, open the book. It's the people's book. It gives them the ability to know how to bounce back. And so the stories, a gentleman had lost his job, laid off, then his got a family member got cancer, and then someone passed away all in the same month. Now get this, he's on his way, how beautiful this human is, to go get a Barnes and Noble gift card to pay it forward. While he's going through this, he walks into Barnes and Noble and he sees my book, and that was not what he was going for, but he picks it up and he said, it saved my life because I was contemplating suicide.
Mm.
And I was like, and he writes me this message, and I'm like, wait, what? And it's been a woman just came up to me and she's like, our marriage was on the rocks, about to end, and we decided to both read this separately and then come together, and we wrote our bounce back statement, how we as a couple are going to bounce back. And I was like, and it's story after story, like the chills I have, and I'm like, oh
Well,
my gosh, thank you, God, because first of all, the publisher only gave me 4 months to write this. You're supposed to get a year plus. I had to still work full time, so I'd write from 12 a.m. to 4 a.m. And there were times where I was like, how am I going to do this? How am I
well,
going to get this to the finish line? But I'm so glad I was never not going to. But you know, those moments. And Shannon, who works with me, we would just sit there. I mean, she would help me and then I'd help her. Like we'd go through these moments where we're like going to pull our hair out. And then you get to this point and you see how it affected people's lives. This is the whole message of the book, everyone. You are going to get to points in life where you think you don't have any more oxygen. And you're like, how do I go? Take a deep breath, do what you can in that moment, but don't stop. You could pause. You could, like hiking up the mountain, pause for a second, but don't stop climbing it. Because when you do get to the top, you're going to be so grateful. And that's your work. That's your life. So that's this metaphor for this whole thing, and even my own journey trying to get this to you all.
mhm. And I'm sure those stories, when you've had the opportunity to get emails or meet people, it's kind of like God being like, okay, Dar, it was all worth it.
I know. I
Your
know.
legacy is, living through the book
Yeah.
and those people. And I mean, I think that's how we scale our impact, right? Because I
Yeah.
know, like you, like I have a big mission, and the question I've been asking myself over the last year is, I can't do this by myself,
Yeah.
and there's got to be ways beyond traditional business models, right? To think about how. That's why I love
Mm-hmm.
the podcast too,
Mm-hmm.
because for me, that's one of the ways I'm able to create impact in a different way. And so I think that's when we're really as service-based leaders, is really reflecting on that internal why are we showing up to write, to record content. It's really, I mean, the byproduct is a dollar, but truthfully, I don't make money from the podcast
Yeah.
directly. I'm sure book, it's
No,
not the book itself that's filling up
definitely
your bank
not.
account by any means. It's about impact and a legacy.
Absolutely. I want this to be in everyone's hands so they have a tool that's going to help them. That's why I did it.
Yeah, I love
Yeah, no, there won't be seeing any money from the book until a long time, but
Yeah,
that's
sure,
okay.
sure. I love that. I love that honesty. Something that I would love to tangibly talk to you is when we hear your career, and I love that you painted this picture, right? No overnight success. People might see who you're working with today and go, I want to do what she's doing, what you've built, the credentials and experience. But I would love to know, how do you break through from these moments of, or how do you step through into coaching people that are working at such a high level, professional athletes, CEOs? If you could give a tip,
Yeah.
I mean, you kind of already
Sure.
did, consistency, but like, how do you break into that
Sure.
world? Because I think there's a lot of coaches listening that do have that on that future vision and are willing to put in the work to get to that level. What would you offer them at that phase of their journey?
I think it's this authenticity and realness. So again, my background being an occupational therapist and a business leader. So I have a business education and I have a therapy education. I got degrees in them. And and I ran them and I've done them. And so I've worked with the people and at the highest level with the people that I would coach. So it makes sense that it could correlate. It's not like I was sitting there trying to help. I mean, this last week, it's a $10 billion company. We're trying to get to $20 billion. The people I work with, they're in that world. So, but that came with experience of growing businesses. And so, if you want to get into business, you have to have experienced business. You can't come in and talk to executive coach someone in business or strategy if you don't know that. But if it's about helping someone find their purpose or their way and you've gone through a coaching process on that, sure. As long as you don't walk out of your boundary, don't start talking to them about strategy if you don't know that, because that hurts thousands of lives and families if it doesn't go that way. So
Hmm.
stay authentically in your zone. And I grew up in a sports world. So it was not, I've watched films since I was a little kid, literally breaking down film. I've been around, the people that I've been around for so many years. It's so natural. Again, I didn't seek it. It sought me because my skill set matched the demand of it. And so if you're trying to get into a space, get the skill set that you need for that space. And you will be more confident. And I believe it's like anything. If you get a seat at the table, be prepared, be ready for it. Now, opportunity is going to meet sometimes, luck that moment, but there's preparation. And so I would just say if you want to get into a certain field, if you want to get into sports, well, then you need to know darn well, like, what is that involved? What do you need? What comes with that? Which now people are getting specific degrees for it. So the market's leveling it up, so you have to level up with it. But I would say make sure that you have some experience to be in the space that you want to coach in, or go get it,
Yeah.
mentor, shadow, do things. So it allows you, people that are doing strategy for business, well, they've scaled businesses.
Yes, for sure. It goes back to a recent just statement I heard, and that we talk about inside our community often is don't discount your life experience. It's actually quite crucial to what you bring to the table as a practitioner as well. And I was a teacher for 10 years before. I didn't really see when I was exiting that world and entering the private. I didn't see. I'm like, oh, I've had these degrees. I have degrees in
Yeah,
coaching and teaching. What's it all going to look like? And then I had this light bulb of like, man, I'm a freaking curriculum expert, right? So my zone of
absolutely.
genius is helping like coaches build out frameworks. And I can see like I'm visually, so I didn't seek out, I never thought I was going to be like the framework builder girl, but I am and I love it. And point being is that I discounted that experience as a teacher. I did not know how it was going to serve this current future, this current and future vision I'm creating, but it does come full circle. So just be patient and be
Yeah,
willing to play
yeah.
with it as it comes.
You have such an amazing gift. Literally, I was just talking to someone this week. I said, I need someone who could write curriculum. Like, it's a gift. It's a total gift to have that and to help people with that.
It is, and I just think it like everything in my brain works from backwards to forwards, and I map everything out, I see it,
Good.
and I didn't realize, like, how much that serves me as, a leader.
Oh, it's amazing. I
Yeah.
need your gift.
Well, hey, I'm always here for you, of course. One thing that I think that I really admire about you, or that I know I admire about you, is your faith, and just as a fully transparent conversation. I've just come to
Oh,
know God this year. I was baptized in April, and so that's been a 41-year journey for me where I super resisted it and grew up in a home that had no discussion of faith, no, it just, and not because they were kind of wounded in their experience, and
sure.
so they thought like blank canvas, and I'm so grateful for that. One of the areas that I have struggled in kind of as I navigate these waters is just being fully authentic
Yeah.
around faith, because there was a big part of me that was, I didn't start this podcast or my coaching business years ago in that space, and here I am. God's been pursuing me like and I've been resisting, and I would be the last person on earth that I thought would be here if I'm being real honest. Sometimes my
Oh, yeah.
husband's like, I can't even believe we're here. I'm like, yeah, me either.
Aw.
I share that though because I think that sometimes we're fearful of revealing our full self. And I actually think it's quite critical that I share this kind of muddied process I've been going through, because I want people, the listeners, my audience, the people I get to interview, to know who I am, because that brings more of the like. And
Oh,
so as you've navigated this, being in front of athletes, CEOs, like, how do you own your faith? Because
Mm,
I'm sure you haven't been in rooms where that's been always welcomed, or maybe I'm wrong. I don't
yeah.
want to make any
No, no, no.
assumptions.
You're right on
But
the. I mean, literally, I just gave a speech, a national convention, 53 countries. I'm their keynote, their only keynote. And, oops, sorry.
that's okay.
I don't know how that call just came through.
Yeah,
But all to say, I am speaking 53 countries to this national convention, and their exact words are, "Please do not talk about God," because they know. And I was like, okay, no problem, because I'm giving a speech, which I know I. Here's the great thing, though, being authentically you. I didn't use the word God for the whole hour that I spoke to this whole room, thousands of people. And wouldn't you know, when I got done, people came right up to me and they're like, "Thank you for sharing you. You could tell you're a woman of God." Like it just comes through. And I don't even have to say the word, my point is, and just the light will come through. And the people that will be attracted to it will be attracted to it. And then, of course, when I could talk to it, I mean, I talk to my clients all the time. I'll say, "Hey, what's your faith journey like?" Sometimes they'll say 0. Sometimes they'll say, "I wear a cross, but there's no connection." You just never know. And what I will say in this world, it's not about putting people in a religion. It's about sharing people the way of faith and love. And there is something so much bigger that when you really let it into your world and walk it out, just like this is a perfect example of it is pinging exactly the people that are supposed to talk about it. And I could tell you, this book, I could not talk about faith because the publishing company, that's not their market. But do you know what? I never talked about it in depth, but everyone knows about it, right? So it will get out, the message will get out. You're supposed to be where you're supposed to. And then anyone who is exploring faith, by the way, when you relinquish and you understand that there is a God serving us and you allow that, your whole world, like, there's just an inner joy that you just want to talk about. The ultimate bounce back, it's having God.
yeah. Oh my gosh, what a perfect full circle way to finish out this show for sure. And I've definitely felt that. And I don't know, it's really hard to put into words, especially for someone like me who felt very differently and was very resistant. But I was literally driving today, dropped my son off at school, jamming out to some worship music, and like the wind, it's nice in Arizona right now. You can enjoy the outdoors, and I had this just sheer like little magic of connection and clarity and just gratitude of
Yeah.
like, wow, it's like everything just I coach better, I show up
Yes.
differently, I'm just unattached to anything. I'm just like, I know what my purpose is right now, and I am just here for it. So it's also
Oh,
almost taken this like little semblance of I don't know if it's imposter or whatever, and it's just totally flooded to, it's just like boop, move right out the way because we've got work to do. So I've definitely feel that for sure.
yes, yes, and yes. I'm so happy for you.
Well,
There's
thank
a
you.
joy that cannot come from anything in this world other than God.
Yeah. Dar, you're amazing. I'm so grateful that we were able to sync our calendars. I'd
Me
love for
too.
you to share with the audience where we can find the art of bouncing back, and where we can connect with you as well.
Go on Amazon and you get the book there, Barnes and Noble. You can get it there as well. And then stay connected. Go on to my website and go to coachdar.com and sign up for the newsletter that I have there, because there's so much stuff that will be sent that I pour into every week, giving people free, pay it forward, mental skills tools to help everyone. And so Instagram is at the Coach Dar, but if you just go on to my website, all my social channels are there. How to connect with me is there, but definitely connect with me. And that way you could stay engaged if you sign up, so that I could tell you about some great events that are coming up in the year, and the book and master classes you can get, all that good stuff. So it's all there. Stay connected with me. And yeah, I just hope that everyone listening got something a little bit better and they're lit from within today.
Yeah, for sure they did. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you.